My name's Gareth Skewis and I run Pointer Footwear. We're a relatively new independent footwear company based in the UK. It's quite a small team of about 5 people actually. A girl called Rose is the head designer. We've got art direction and so, but it's the whole concept behind it is to do something that was really not going on in the footwear markets and the big sportswear footwear market, where creating a brand that is really kind of art inspired and very kind of 1970s design orientated and quite lo-fi, nothing limited edition, very kind of subtle branding, kind of a step away from where maybe the traditional sportswear and skateboard footwear market was going. We're now 4 years old. What season are we in? How many seasons deep are we? Yeah, 7th season, so predominantly vulcanized, mainly just distribution in Europe. We're about to enter the American and the Australian market. For me, it's always been about buying independent clothing, and you have long conversations with people about independent-minded music and clothing, but then you look at what they're wearing from their ankles down, and it's big kind of conglomerates and corporate branding on their footwear. So you can talk about independent retail and independent clothing brands, but then it seems from the ankles down it didn't really count. The plan for Pointer for the next kind of 4 seasons is not to get away from our vulcanized kind of shoe production, but to maybe go slightly more kind of classic looking with different lasts and new molds, so different kind of shoe construction. Still doing 2 seasons a year. There is our first kind of toy is coming out this season, designed by a guy called Jethro Haynes. We've got more art books being published this year. Pretty much the most fundamental thing with us is that trying not to be a male-dominated brand, our main focus is also kind of getting the women's line out there and designing and producing women's footwear that is still very kind of classic and quite lo-fi based, but isn't baby blue and pink and with polka dots all over it. Is creating something that, you know, if you're a 25-year-old woman, you don't have to, if you want to buy into trainers or sneakers, you don't have to buy into pink high street kind of big brands or baby blue colorways, making classic looking product. That's kind of our main goal. My and Rose's main goal was whether it's producing catalogs or publishing art books or toys or making footwear, is that you can look back in 20 years and look at the product you've produced and it's kind of stood the test of time, that is classically designed. In any, I think, major kind of cosmopolitan city, there's always groups of people that are somehow joined to each other through whether it's skateboarding or certain forms of music or being interested in certain types of artwork. And with Pointer, it was a perfect vehicle for certain people that we've, 1, always respected, and 2, always wanted to work with, and 3, kind of most importantly, been friends with. So a guy called Matt Fowler, who's the art director, and Hannah, who's his fiancée, and they pretty much do all the concept and all the art direction for Pointer. Then there's a guy called Jethro Haynes, who does loads of 3D stuff, which you saw at the 3 Threads. A guy called Nick Taylor, Marcus Oakley, and that's fundamentally who make up Pointer. So what we've done is each season, instead of doing product-led advertising, we've done much more art direction-led advertising, and sticking to one concept. For me, it's really, I think for everyone, it was really important that the concept had to be as strong as the artwork. So with each season, we publish an art book that comes out with a line of shoes. This season, we've done like a box set of all of them. And then what we also do is each season we do an end consumer catalogue with different concepts. The 3 Threads is a store which was orchestrated by our distribution company. And in that distribution company, there's 3 main brands. And that's why it's called the 3 Threads. And it's all clothing, so Threads clothing. But the concept for the shop, a guy called James, who I share an office with, pretty much came up with. And the Three Threads is actually a beer that was invented in the Old Street area in Shoreditch in London in the late 1600s. And what it is, it's a mixture of 3 ales all poured together, which actually went on to become a beer called London Porter, which you can buy at any supermarket or most liquor stores. And what we did with the shop was loosely fit it like a pub, so the seating area in where the shoe area is, it's got nice leather kind of cushioning like the corner of a pub, and the cash desk is fitted like a bar, and there's bar stools and there's a jukebox, and when you come into the store you can choose the music you want to play, and we have bottled Three Threads beer. Well, just like maybe a step away from streetwear, where I think a lot of people are really into, or grew up being really into skateboarding or streetwear, and then you get a bit older and you'd like to wear something that isn't maybe overly branded and it's a bit more unique. So it was a perfect thing to put certain other brands next to Pointer that we feel sit perfectly together. All the work that we do is all 3D, and all kind of like all the adverts that you see, when people actually see the stuff we've built for adverts and being like, oh, I didn't realize that was actually a 4-foot exploding man coming out of a pipe wearing shoes. We thought that was all Photoshop. The Three Threads was a really good opportunity to put that artwork out there and for people to actually see, you know, what it's all about. I bought all the Silver Jews records at once. It's this guy who's on Domino Records, so I bought all of the records he ever made in one go. But the first record I was ever given, my mum gave me Revolver by the Beatles, and I remember listening to that going to school when I was in Standard 1, which in Europe means I was 12. But then the first record I ever actually spent money on was in, I think in 1988, and it was in Carnaby Street when I was on holiday with my mum, and I bought a Dead Kennedys record, and then that pretty much fundamentally changed the way I looked at music and I guess life. So go out and start shoe companies and shops and labels and do whatever you want to do. That's kind of what I'm about.